Hi everyone, I am Katarina and delighted to have you here today. For the card I'm making, once again I'm going to use the white Elegance collection, which I already used in my last video, and I talk in more detail in there about this one. Please go ahead and check that one out. I will also leave links to Monica's channel in the description box below. She's the very talented designer behind this collection, and she also have a fantastic giveaway for you, also make sure you go over to her channel and check that out. So today I'm going to show you how I made this lovely top folding split front card. It is so lovely but so easy to make. I'm quite excited about this one. So in here I'm using an A3 piece of cardstock, and I'm going to create two card bases from this one. So I'm lining it up at the 14 inches on my trimmer and cutting it down to 14. And then I'm going to take the scoring blade in this trimmer and I'm going to score down at 7 inches. I will not need both of these card bases today, but I like to create an extra one because I love top folding card bases and I know that I will use it up in the future. But you can also buy ready-made card bases. So in here, once I scored it down at 7 inches, which is bang on in the middle, I am going to use my bone folder just to reinforce that fold line, and then I'm going to put it back in my trimmer because the 14-inch wouldn't fit the lengthways in here. So I'm going to cut this down to 5 inches, and just look at that, just with one cut it cuts through the two layers, and this is heavyweight 300 GSM cardstock, and it just cut through like butter. So I got this trimmer from Craftstash. This is a creative craft products trimmer, and this is the second card base that I will be putting aside. This trimmer comes with two extra blades, which you can buy separately also. I think it's £5 for the two, so it's quite inexpensive. I did have a trimmer similar, not this one, but similar, when I started my crafting journey about 7 years ago, and the blades were so expensive and needed to be replaced so very often. I really stayed away from trimmers until now. I got this one, been using it for a while, and I have to say I am pretty impressed with this trimmer. So maybe you want to check that out if you are looking for a trimmer. Now we'll create that slit front on my card front. So on the top of the card where the fold line is, I'm going to put a little pencil mark at 3 inches and at 4.5 inches. On the bottom of the card where the opening is, I'm going to put a little pencil mark at 1/2 inch and then again at 2 inches. So once again on the top where the folding is of the card is 3 and 4.5, and then it's 1/2 and 2 at the bottom. Now I'm going to join this up with a pencil. You don't need to do this at all because we'll be cutting this away. It's just so you can see what I'm going to do. So I joined up the 3-inch mark with the 1/2 inch on the bottom and the 4.5 inch mark with the 2 inches at the bottom. And we will be removing that middle section in there. So that's where I'm putting those pencil lines there. I will be removing all that. Now, craft knife is not my favorite craft tool at all, but even I did find this quite easy to do. So if your blade is nice and sharp, one cut should do it. I really don't like using craft knives. I tend to cut myself with anything that gets in my hand, honestly. But this wasn't tricky at all. Of course, you can use your scissors to cut this away. I just don't trust myself to cut it very straight. So I removed all that, and you can see a little bit of a score line left on the top. I will tidy that up with my scissors, and it's quite easy to do. Just cut away that little score line, and now I have a lovely top folding split front card. Now we'll have to create some mats and layers for this one. For the mats, I decided to use craft cardstock today. And for my layers, I will be going with the design paper from Monica's gorgeous collection. So craft cardstock, it's not something I use very often in my crafting. I don't know why, because it's gorgeous. You'll see how lovely this turns out. It adds so much to this card. In a piece of this brown cardstock, it really doesn't matter what width it is, as long as it at least 3.25 inches wide. Now, the most important measurement in here is this one, 6 7/8 inch. This will be the height of the cardstock to leave me with a lovely thin border, and I'm working with a very, very thin border because obviously I only have 1/2 inch of a section to work on either side of these slits on one end of them. So I went with a really thin border, and it will turn out beautiful. So in here I am putting a mark at 2 7/8 inch. And on the bottom, I'm going to put at 3/8 of an inch. So again, turning this cardstock upside down, 2 7/8 of an inch. And on the bottom, I'm going to put the mark at 3/8 of an inch. If you are working with a different size of a card, basically what I done in here, I dropped down 1/8 of an inch from the previous measurements. So on my card base, I put a mark at 3 inches. In here, I went 2 7/8 and 1/2 an inch to 3/8 of an inches. I know those little pencil marks don't really show on camera in here, but basically what I'm doing, I'm lining up those pencil marks in the cutting groove of my trimmer, and this way I will be able to cut the perfect mat for my card base. Look how lovely that thin border looks around it. Now, of course, you don't need to have the trimmer for this. You can do this without the trimmer easily. Just use your guillotine or whatever cutting accessory you have in your stash. So now I'm lining up the other two dots or pencil marks on the cardstock, and I'm turning this one upside down, leaving me with that lovely thin border on that side as well. So for my layers to go on top of these mats, I'm going to pick out one of the gorgeous design papers with white roses on it from Monica's collection. And I'm going to cut this down. This has to be at least 3 inches wide, but I'm using a wider piece. I just find it easier this way. And the most important measurement again here is the height of this cardstock, which has to measure 6 3/4 of an inch. So again, I'm dropping down just 1/8 of an inch from the previous measurement. Now I'm going to flip this around to the other side because it's too busy to put the marks on that pattern side. And I'm adding my mark at 1/4 of an inch on the top and 2 3/4 of an inch on the bottom. Again, 1/4 of an inch and 2 3/4 of an inch. Please note that I'm starting with the smaller measurement in here because I'm working on the other side of the cardstock, obviously. Now, bringing my trimmer back, I'm going to do exactly the same thing I did earlier on with the craft cardstock. So I'm just lining up those pencil marks with the cutting groove of this trimmer. And I'm just with one single cut, I'm going to cut them down to size. Again, lining up the 2 pencil marks and just going to cut these down. And I will be popping that middle section back into my folder with other bits and pieces of this collection for a future use. So now I'm just going to use my all-purpose collal glue to add all these layers on top of my card base. And this will add a lot of strength back to this card base because obviously we've cut quite a chunk away from it, and where only 1/2 of an inch is holding it on the top is quite flimsy at this point. But once we have added all these layers back, it will be a very nice and sturdy card again. And it will have a real good quality feel to it. That's one thing that I really love about the collal glue. It makes everything so strong. Even 2 pieces of thin cardstocks glued together with collal glue will be very strong, almost like a chipboard feel to them. So I really love collal glue. And if any of you is interested where I'm getting mine, I got mine from Pink Frog Crafts, and I will leave a link in the description box below to it. I get a big 1 liter bottle, and it's quite affordable with them. It's only £13, which is much less than when I used to get it on Amazon. And if you buy 2 of these, you get free postage, so it's a win-win for me. You will find a link in the description box below to this product. When I say free postage, I'm in the UK, so I'm not sure what way they work it with other parts of the world, but you can go and check their website out regardless. So now I'm just using the same collal glue and I'm adding all these layers and mats onto top of the card base, and you will start seeing this card coming together so nicely in here. To add a mat on the inside of the card, I'm going to cut down a piece of craft cardstock to 4 7/8 by 6 7/8 of an inch, and I'm going to glue it on the inside. I have not yet decided in here what design paper I will be using on top. I will quite surprise myself with this decision, to be honest. You'll see in a wee while. Now you can see on the right hand side in there where only 1/2 an inch of holding it is quite, it's not flimsy, it doesn't feel flimsy anymore, but it's still quite easy to move and it's not sitting square because obviously only 1/2 an inch is holding it onto the top. We will take care of this with the next step. So I've taken out two oval dies from my stash. These are both from Craftstash and the Creative Craft Products range. I will link to these in the description box below. So the filigree oval I'm going to cut out of craft cardstock, and the plain oval there, the straight edge one, I've cut out one of the design papers from the collection. It has a lovely ivory design to it. Although it doesn't show much on camera in here, it's a lovely subtle design on that one. And then I'm just going to show you the piece of cardstock I cut the filigree die out of. That would make a perfect stencil for a little background, maybe on a little note card in the future. Makes off to the side it goes. Now, popping out the die cut from the die, there's a few bits that's left inside the die cut, but they are just very easily removed. All I'm going to do is use my pokey tool just to help them, encourage them for falling either bit. And these dies, I've used them quite a bit in the past, and they cut beautifully. I think the Creative Craft product range is quite an affordable one. And they are really good quality, and I love nesting dies. I do have quite a few sets, and not far from having them all. I have quite a few sets which I always use, and I love using them. So in here I'm making sure that the flaps are sitting nice and straight, adding a little bit of a color glue on the two ends of this oval die. I'm trying to center it as much as I can. It's a bit tricky because everything goes at an angle, so I kind of have to work with my grid and all to make sure that it's not going on very crooked in here. So I layered up the ivory colored oval that I got on the top of that. Now I just want to show you, Monica primarily made this collection with the season in her mind, which is first Holy Communion season, obviously. And she added these sentiments to her Buy Me a Coffee website as well, which you can download for free to complement your collection. Now, the card that I made in my last video was this one. I printed out my own sentiment. I didn't have that set from Monica because it hadn't been uploaded back then yet, but that would make a lovely addition to this card as well. You can see all the lovely glitter on the flowers in there. And in that video, I showed you exactly how I shaped and glittered up my flowers. So I will be just using one of those leftovers in here. I'm trying all the different flowers. I have quite a few leftovers, and I'm surprising myself in here again because I am going to go with just one of this floral arrangement in here. It's so not like me, but for this card, it definitely did not need anything, not even a sentiment. I think it would have taken away from the beauty of this card in there. So what I decided to do, I cut a white oval, the same size as I've used on the front of the card, and I'm going to glue it on the inside. In here, I'm coming to decide what pattern paper I want to use on the inside of my card. So this floral was just too busy, did not like it at all. Tried this more muted ivory design in here, and I did not like that either. So I decided to keep it craft, which is so unlike me again. If you've seen my videos, I like to over decorate my cards. I like to add loads to my cards, and making it nice and simple and turning out as beautiful as this card turns out was just a joy to my heart. Honestly, I love creating much simpler cards lately, and this one is definitely one of my favorites of all the simple cards that I made. So I'm just going to stick with one floral arrangement in there, and it's already been shaped. Check out my previous video how I did that. And I'm adding 2 layers of foam parts behind it just for a bit of a dimension. All the cards need a bit of dimension, in my opinion. Well, this one needed anyway, and I just added a little bit of a color glue as well, just for extra strength. And in here, I have ivory colored flat back pearls, which I got on eBay. I will link to it in the description box below again if anyone wants to check out. I'm not affiliated with them at all. It's just I love their selection of these flat back pearls, and I have a few bags in all different colors and color combinations. So I'm just adding these all over this card in like a cascading kind of a pattern, I guess, because they're coming from the top left corner to the bottom right, and then in between there, just following that kind of a pattern, I guess. And this pretty much is going to finish up this card for me, but stay tuned to the end of this video because I will be adding some much nicer footage during the day. Next day, I do record most of my videos in the middle of the night when the kids are asleep and there's nice and quiet in the house. I can work away. So I like to add some extra footage from daylight where you can see much more of the lovely colors and the sparkle on my makes. And if you like this super easy but super beautiful design, very unusual design for a card, you will definitely love. I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert for my next video. It is going to be a landscape version of this card, and it turns out just as beautiful using a slightly different collection. Please do check back to check that one out as well. So if you liked today's tutorial, please do not forget to give me the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done so, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll get notified anytime I upload new videos. Check out Monica's channel for a lot more inspiration on this lovely collection and on some of her other collections as well. As I mentioned before, she has a giveaway where you could get all this collection completely for free. And I can tell you it is a stunning collection. You will want to have this if you use digital products, digital papers, digital cliparts in your card making. This one is definitely one to go for. So I really hope to see you soon back. Until then, bye!